Thanks for coming, everybody. Right off the top, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, I don't know what you're doing with your life. There's amazing content there. And we're putting out all sorts of new content over the next 6 months or so. Fancier, better, faster, just superior in every way. So you should get in there and subscribe. That way, when I post a video, you'll get notified. Masterclasses are all posted on YouTube. So if you subscribe and you miss one, you'll get notified anyway. So it just makes your life easier and better. The next thing I want to mention is the iGUIDE Facebook floor plan creators group. So if you're not a member, please join. It's amazing. There's lots of really great conversations. I even post stuff here from time to time. It's kind of fun. There's lots of humorous images that get posted. I say lots, maybe 5, but that's still better than none, right? Anyway, lots of people on here, lots of conversations. It's awesome. And then the last thing I want to bring up is PMRE. So every year in November, for the last 3 years, I think 3 years it's been going on now, there is a conference in Las Vegas for real estate photographers called the PFRE Conference. So they've changed the name. I was very confused last week about this, but I figured it out now. So from PFRE to PMRE, which stands for Photo and Media for Real Estate Conference. Very cool. So you can register. We're sponsors of that event. So we will be there. I myself will also physically be there. So that's kind of cool. It's really interesting. I went to the first one. I haven't gone to any subsequent ones. One of them was right in 2020. So that was online only. So I've kind of been to two, I guess. And they're really interesting and fascinating. There's so many cool speakers that talk about stuff that have, bring subject matter expert knowledge to certain things that I just know nothing about, like different types of photo editing and shooting and social media stuff. So that's kind of cool. So the topic for today and who I am. So my name's Chris. I see a few familiar names. I see a few, but it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. So if you don't know who I am, I'm a marketing manager for Planetar, and I've been around for, 7 years maybe at this point. And I was a real estate photographer, and I used the technology as a photographer. And then I joined the company in 2014, 2015, something like that. So my perspective is often one that's coming from a user's perspective. So I tend to think or have experience with the way things are actually out in the real world, which is probably a good thing. The topic for today is, as I'm sure you already know, branding. Branding can mean a lot of different things to different people. So specifically in this context, I'm going to refer to branding as it relates to the iGUIDE interface specifically, because there's a lot. We could probably talk for 3 hours about branding and how important it is, whatever. But the reason I'm going to refer specifically to the iGUIDE 3D tour interface is that's the main iGUIDE related way that people are going to engage, with the iGUIDE as a product. And there's enough meat there to talk for a whole hour. So we can fill up 20 minutes, no props. All right. So let's begin by talking about what the branding does on an iGUIDE. So for fun, I'm going to load one up because, visuals are important. Okay. And because I'm really good at webinars, I loaded one up ahead of time. Or did I? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. So hopefully you can all see this iGUIDE right here. You've got your 3D tour, got your 360 visuals. You've got your, interactive floor plan over here. This one's got tags, so that's kind of cool. And this experience is great. It's really, really great at doing things like helping people understand a property and giving people information that they want about a property, and also helping market a property and sell a property. It's a tool for home buyers, home sellers, every real estate professional. And then outside of residential real estate, it's a tool for anyone to, use that property information to make important decisions. So there is an often very overlooked purpose, if you will, of the iGUIDE interface. And that's that what it does is it connects people. It connects people who are trying to make those decisions. And the way it connects people is through the branding. So when I refer to branding, I'm very specifically, we'll go through each one like kind of one by one, but I'm specifically referring to the agent banner or the banner that drops down, which has, I don't know if any of you read the forum, but it was quite the thing. Some changes were made recently. The iGUIDE viewer was refreshed and the banner was not perfect. So some modifications were made based on feedback that was given. The main thing was this like drop down animation. When you load an iGUIDE, like for the first time, this banner drops down, and that was taken away. And, to be honest, I personally didn't realize how important, I shouldn't say I didn't realize, I forgot. I can admit that. I forgot how important that banner is at connecting the home buyer and the home seller, or in this case, the representative. And that's too bad because, but it was good. It was a good learning experience. We now know that that's top of mind for a lot of people, super important. So that's good. I mean, we knew before, but sometimes you regress, right? But that's what that banner does. So, you can argue there's a lot of reasons why it's there. It obviously identifies the person who's representing that property, but it gives them an opportunity to get their name out there, get name recognition. I mean, yeah, that's for sure. But what this banner does is it connects the home buyer and then the home seller. So you can imagine, if you think about it, the most important thing in a real estate transaction is to, sell the house. If the banner's not there, that means someone has to work a little harder to take the information that they gather from that iGUIDE and then connect with the person who's selling the home. So often iGUIDEs are embedded, like this one is as well, embedded in a page or embedded in a listing platform like realtor.ca. So the contact information is there. But often the iGUIDE stands alone. It's just a URL that people load up. So in that case, if there's no banner, there's no way for the person viewing that property to connect with the person selling it. And that's obviously breaks the whole reason to be selling a house. So as a marketing tool, it's really important that that branding be there. But more than that, there's other types of branding on here. So there's this banner. There's also the nadir cover. I don't know why this one doesn't have it. I can load up a different version here. Hold on. We'll load her up full screen. This should have it. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, I guess it's the unbranded version as well. Well, either way, there's a logo that can appear there, and that can be your logo, typically. And that is connecting people as well. So that's connecting you, if you use it for your logo, with your current client. So every time your the person you made this iGUIDE for looks at that, they're going to see your name attached to it. So that's pretty cool. And you really want to do that because if people see the value in the thing that you've offered, you definitely want them to come back for more. And you certainly don't want to make it hard for them. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to engage with you. Fun fact, the Panorama Branding Image is what's officially called, or what's also known as the nadir cover, is an opportunity for you to market yourself, but technically it can be anything you want. So that means that if an agent asks, hey, I saw the banner, that looks good, but can you put my name over that tripod? You can, but usually that's reserved for the photographer instead. So you have to come up with a reason why you can't if you don't want to. I don't have a good reason, but that's a conversation that comes up a lot if you haven't experienced it. So that's fun fact number one. Fun fact number two is that the iGUIDE comes in two forms. I'm not going to go into great detail about this today, but it's good to know. And the two forms are branded and unbranded. So branded means that you have, a banner and you have a logo when you look down. Unbranded means that those things don't appear on the iGUIDE. And you get two distinct, discrete links, each one different. The first link is for the branded tour. The second link is for the unbranded tour. And the reason for that is that some MLSs, not all, some listing platforms require you to remove branding so that you're not soliciting for clients on their system. And that means that if you're sharing on MLS, sometimes the branding isn't visible, but that's why I mentioned before, like if you're on realtor.ca, like or realtor.com or whatever, your information is there anyway. So usually it's not such a big deal. But when the iGUIDE is shared on something like social media or via any other platform you can think of, that branding is critical because it connects people, as I mentioned earlier. So the branding, I think I mentioned this, but I'll say it again. It's dynamic. So that means when you choose the unbranded tour, the banner doesn't show, and this cover gets removed, and you just see like the default cover. So that's awesome. You don't have to think too much. You can give that link to your client or use it for the listing, and then you can take the other link, the branded one, and use it on things like Facebook and for direct sharing. So that's quite kind of handy. So the last thing that branding is really good for, so it connects buyer and seller in a real estate scenario. It connects the photographer with whoever they shot the iGUIDE for in every scenario. But it also connects the agent or the person who paid for the iGUIDE with future potential clients. And it also connects the photographer with future potential clients. So it's very common for someone who is investigating different ideas, for example, in a marketing sense, for them to see something on a listing portal. They're on realtor.com and they find an iGUIDE and they go, oh, that's really cool. And so this is an agent maybe you haven't worked with. And they look down and they see your logo. Hey, there you go, advertising. And that's if someone has used the branded version. If it's shared on Facebook, they're definitely going to see it. Sometimes people share the branded version on different listing portals. Sometimes they're allowed, sometimes they're not. It's a bit strange, it's per area, but it's also an opportunity for the real estate agent, the person who paid for the iGUIDE, essentially to do the same thing. So when the iGUIDE's out there, it's saying, hey, this person listing this property has this marketing. This is part of their marketing standard, part of their marketing package. Or, it's a cool tour with floor plans and everything. And people often want that. And they say, oh, that's cool. So every tour is an opportunity for an agent to not only sell a property, but also sell properties in the future, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. And for every photographer, every iGUIDE that you create, or iGUIDE service provider, every iGUIDE that you make is an opportunity to get your name out there so that people can more order iGUIDEs from you who aren't your current customers. So that's kind of cool. So free advertising, how great is that? Okay. I hope that makes sense. How are we doing for time? Oh, we're doing great. So what I'm going to show you is something a little bit more technical now. So I'm going to show you how to configure these things on the portal. So if you're new, I'm going to walk you through. So let's suppose that you want to configure this iGUIDE banner. Okay, so what you would do is you would shoot an iGUIDE, and then you're going to go to your your iGUIDE that you've shot, either before it's processed or after. Actually, I'll show you the before as well. I don't see any questions yet. That's cool. You guys are making my life easy. All right, so if you're creating an iGUIDE and you want to add the banner now, you would follow the regular process here. You choose your package and you put in your property address. Let's put in a fun one. 1, 2, 3, party. Whoa, that's a weird one. All right, sure, Poland. Why not? Oh no, it didn't work. About 3, 2, 1. Green acres. Oh, that sounds good. Okay, cool. So now that I've selected my package and I've got my address, I'm going to go down here to add agent branding. So that's that banner that I showed you. And I'm going to click edit. Okay, so there's also the interesting things here. If you've already created a banner, you don't have to create it every time. So if you're brand new to iGUIDE, don't worry. You don't need to do this like every single time. You can just search for the banner. So you can put in a name like, I don't know, Barry. Will I get any? There you go. Nigel, sure. That's not Barry, but all right. Because it's Barry Cohen-Owens. Okay. So if you've already created one, it's essentially in your database. So every account has what is essentially a database of banners, and you never have to make them again. Once they're created, you can just go back and search for them. But let's pretend that I don't even have a banner. Like I don't even have one. So I'm going to click create new banner, and I'm going to start filling out this information. So this is usually where people groan because they don't want to do all the work. Okay, you don't need to fill out every single field. Should you? Yes, but you don't need to. Name and a phone number is enough. Remember, we're connecting people. So that means that as long as people know how they can get a hold of someone, that's all that matters. That's the minimum. Should you put everything else in? Of course. None of these are required. So you don't have to fill in at least one is required, but you don't have to fill them all in if you don't want. The option for a default banner is to put in a headshot and a logo. That's our suggestion. You could put the logo where the headshot is and the headshot where the logo is if you want. We don't know the difference. You can put in 2 logos, 2 headshots, whatever you like. Before someone asks, because I'm sure it will come up, there is no way to have multiple banners on an iGUIDE at the moment. If you want that, and that sounds like something you think is great, or you know what, if you have any feature suggestions that relate to the iGUIDE, go to the iGUIDE forum, forum.goiguide.com, and go to the feature suggestions section and put it in there. I'm going to be honest with you. We don't reply a lot in there. We don't engage with the forum in that way. The iGUIDE forum is really a place for service providers to talk to each other in a sort of closed and private-ish sort of way. There's public stuff on there too, but it's not really for us to engage. It's not like a support channel, but we totally do read the posts in the feature suggestions, and they absolutely 100% go in the roadmap. I can already see a question. Can you edit the banner once it's created? That guy's created, the agent wants to add. Oh, of course, absolutely. The banners are dynamic. So if you change a banner that's already on an iGUIDE, that iGUIDE it'll automatically change. So yes, you can absolutely change it whenever you want. And that's super common, right? You make the iGUIDE and you make a banner, and then you realize, oh man, I forgot to ask Linda for her headshot. I don't have it. No big deal. Just fill out what you have. And then to finish it, you can come down here and click save, and then that banner would then exist. And then you can go back and you can edit any banner you've created later, which I can just actually really quickly show you. So if I go up here to, I'm going to spoil something else, but that's all right. I go up here to my name, and then I go to settings. I'm going to go to my user settings. So all of my banners, yeah, we can leave. All of my banners are here. So under manage banners, they're all in here. So I can change banners, do whatever I want. It's awesome. Okay, so making a banner means you fill out that form. There's also another thing that you can do, which is make a custom banner. So quite frequently what will happen is that agents will have, or people will have like a really specific graphic that they want to use. You can skip most of those fields and put in their specific graphic. You shouldn't skip it because it's good for another reason, which I'll tell you in a second, but you can put in their custom graphic and then it will just occupy the space. See, hindsight's 2020. I should have got an example of that. I apologize. Either way, it's a JPEG. You can just make a banner and try it out. It's pretty easy. So once you've got all that information in there and you've added your banner, it will appear on the iGUIDE. So what you might be thinking, because I kind of mentioned it earlier, is, well, like, you know, I'm putting the iGUIDE in a page, because people do that sometimes. They don't just share the iGUIDE on its own. Maybe you're putting it in a template or a single property website, or maybe you're only sending it to builder.ca. So you might think to yourself, well, like, why would I bother? Like, I don't need a banner. Okay, so you do. You desperately do need to add agent information to an iGUIDE. And it's not a selfish thing. We don't market to those contacts ever. Those are just your contacts. But what that does is it takes your iGUIDE and it marks it as belonging to that particular agent. So if you don't add banners, what's going to happen is that, like, I don't know, 6 months from now, you're going to get a call from one of your customers, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I just realized that all 7 of the tours you shot for me are still live. Can you turn them all off? So if you've added banners, all you have to do is go to the My iGuides page and search for their name. They'll all come up. Easy, 2 seconds. If you don't, you have to go through every single iGuide you shot, figure out which ones belong to them, and then disable them or lock them, I should say. So it's a pain in the rear end. So for tracking purposes and just keeping your tours straight, you should always add agent information to every single iGuide. It will make your life a lot easier. You'll totally regret it if you don't. All right, one more question. Let's see. Thank you for showing where we edit them. Yeah, I like to structure my webinars in such a way that I kind of tell you what we're going to talk about, why it's important, try to get you invested, and then I just show you literally how to do it. So I'm a big fan of hands-on sort of stuff. And thank you for showing up. Okay, cool. So there actually, while we're here, there's a whole bunch of other stuff under user settings. If you're, like bored one Saturday afternoon, it's a cool spot to come have a look. You can set all your iGuide defaults. Like if you go create an iGuide, you have to fill out the form, right? But sometimes you do the same thing like over and over and over again. So you can go set your defaults so that it'll just auto do it and it saves you work. So it's awesome. All right, cool. How we doing? All right, we got a few minutes. We're cool. All right, so the next thing. So I had mentioned that we have that agent banner, super important, critical, always add them. But then we also have this image down here, right? This is the Panorama Branding Image or the nadir cover. So you can change it per iGuide. I'll show you that in a second. But there's an easier way while we're over here in the user settings. If you go to iGuide defaults and scroll down, you're going to see that you can set a default branding image for every iGuide. So you don't set it per iGuide unless you're really, if you're going to dynamically change them, which nobody does. You pick an image. I'm not going to go into great detail about that image. Suffice to say, it's meant to cover up the tripod, so it's useful. It can be a JPEG or a PNG or whatever you want. But they look really weird if you don't have it as like a circle. So I've seen every version you can imagine. Sometimes people will just take their logo and slap it in there, but their logo has a transparent background. So it's just like text logo floating on a tripod. That looks gross. Don't do that. So I don't know if you guys can see this really well, but basically what this is, oh yeah, you can see it if I hover over. It's the iGuide logo, but it's on a white circle. So that means when you look down, it's just a white circle. So if you have a logo that's like, doesn't have a background, just make a background. I don't know if that's still an issue for people making a transparent background on a circle. If it is, put it in the chat and I'll make a whole like video about it. It'll probably take about 30 seconds. That'd be a fun one. So the Panorama Branding Image is really easy to add. And like I said, it dynamically gets removed on the unbranded iGuide. So that's really convenient. And there's no reason not to configure this. It's awesome. Like I said, it gets you some free advertising. How cool is that? All right. So there is a hidden form of branding that not many people talk about or think about or use. So I'm going to show you that now. So we got the two main ones out of the way. Now the third one, so agent banner, the Panorama Branding Image that covers the tripod. And now the third one is here. So apparently I haven't configured. Oh, I know. I took it off because it was kind of looking weird. So what you can do if you go to your user settings is you can see that you can select like a personal banner, one for yourself. So that banner is displayed specifically on reports you send out. So you might be asking me like, what? Some reports I send out. Yeah. So what you do is you click on here and you essentially, so you can, I hope you guys can see this, you click create new banner. You make yourself a banner. And when you make yourself a banner, I mean, it looks like everyone else's banner, but then you can select it. And then what will happen is every time you send an iGUIDE report, it will have your banner at the bottom. So it's another opportunity for you to remind your client that you provided them with all that valuable data. Now it's not super easy to find because it's at the bottom of the report. But you might as well use it. Honestly, it takes 5 minutes to set this up. So that's kind of cool. Also, fun fact that some of you may have noticed or may have not. Just today, there was an update on the portal so that the banners look like how you would see them on the iGUIDE. So let me just show you. So obviously the width is different. That's probably another change that will occur, but you can see you got that sort of semi-transparent background. You know, you've got the headshot logo and all the buttons or whatever. So now the banners on the portal look like that. That's just today. They just changed that, I think. So that's kind of very timely for this for this webinar. Very convenient. I don't think that was planned. It's just worked out that way. So all right, we got 3 minutes left. So just to bring it all home, to make it all make sense, branding is super important for any business, any company. But in the context of the iGUIDE, think of it like a way of connecting people. So without that agent banner, you're not going to connect buyers with sellers. You're not going to connect clients with yourself. You're not going to connect potential clients for your client. And the reason that's really important, that connection, if I haven't said it yet, I certainly hope I have, but I'll say it again just in case, is that when people see the value in something, they want more. So if the iGUIDE is connecting people, you know, to a real estate professional, then they're going to see the value in it. They're going to say, oh, wow, yeah, that iGUIDE really brought in those leads. I had a whole bunch of people. I looked at the analytics report. I had a lot of people give me a call. You know, they clicked on it and they called me. So that means that when people see that value, they want to order again, right? We've had a big problem over the years where people would buy an iGUIDE and get a little bit overwhelmed, I think. So there's a lot, right? There's, you know, floor plans, room dimensions, 3D tour, photo gallery, like it's a lot. So sometimes it's not that they don't immediately see the value, it's that they don't know how to use what they've got, and they don't really understand what the iGUIDE is supposed to do. So they don't need to understand people calling them. It's a pretty obvious value there. So in addition to that, it's obviously also providing value, to yourself. Like if you get reached out to because of someone who saw one of your tours, well, then hopefully you would think iGUIDE is great and you would make more, which is what we want. So connecting people. That was my main sort of point for this whole thing, was that you need that branding because that's what it does, and that helps people see the value in the product, and then they're more likely to buy more, and your business will grow and flourish. Oh, I messed up. Hold on. The whole webinar on branding, and I wasn't wearing my branded hat. Oh, that's embarrassing. I don't know how I'm going to live that down. So I'm going to show you all something while we wait for questions or chat comments. Okay, so speaking of branding, there's my little segue. The iGUIDE website, goiguide.com, has a service provider map. And if you are not on this map, you should be. Now, most people are, because during the onboarding process, they ask you like multiple times. But if you're not, don't wait. Reach out today immediately and ask to be on it. Just connect to support. Say, I want to be on the map. Or you can just go right to this page, which is goiguide.com, and then you click find a service provider. And there's actually a link right at the top where you can click and it'll start the process. I don't know if there's like a form or something. Oh yeah, it's a form. You fill it out. Okay, cool. Super easy. And you want to do that because obviously that gets your your pin on the map, if you will. And I hope you guys can see all these people on the left here. So, again, that's connecting people. I kind of thought that I would bring it up because it's been a topic of conversation lately in the office, not physically in the office, metaphorically speaking. It kind of related to the topic for today's masterclass. So I thought, I'll show you guys this. Being on the map costs you nothing. And it certainly helps people find you if they're going through iGUIDE. So imagine that someone sees your logo at the bottom of the screen or the bottom of a tour and they search for iGUIDE, there's a good chance that geographically speaking, that they could locate you from the service provider map. Depending on what area you're in, there's going to be more or less service providers, but it never hurts. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. Okay, cool. I have, I think, one question. As a videographer, I'm very curious of your green screen setup behind you. I'm glad somebody asked. Geez, I was waiting the whole time for somebody to ask. Okay, so what I have is a tensioned green screen. It's kind of hard to see, but it's tensioned top, bottom, left, and right, so that there are not zero, but no creases in it. So it's clean, very clean. So when I do my key, it's good. I have some lights with soft boxes. They're not great. They're very small, but they get the job done. Use the left and right to illuminate me and get rid of the shadows. And then I have one that I usually use kind of up high and down to sort of illuminate me. It causes weird shadows with like my shirt and stuff. So I'm mildly annoyed by it because it's a small softbox with nothing I can do. And then, fun fact, that thing there is a teleprompter. And you might be thinking, what the heck is this guy making? Well, I'll show you. Hold on. So if you go to the floor plan Facebook creators group and you scroll down, there's a video here. So, but if you go to the video there, you're going to see this. Look at that guy. Look how handsome he is. So it's a green screen. We're just trying out some different types of content that we can make that look good, but they're pretty easy. So green screens are kind of fun because they allow us to sort of have someone on screen talking at the same time as showing some supplementary information in the background and then flip-flopping between B-roll or whatever and animations and footage. If you haven't seen this video yet, it's about iGUIDE views. So I did a masterclass last week about iGUIDE views. I'll put the recording up. iGUIDE, you don't even need to watch. You can just watch this video. It's faster. iGUIDE views are super cool because they allow you to take one tour and essentially turn it into multiple tours. And that's amazingly powerful and ridiculous. Okay. Next, this is a comment. Nicely done. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate it. I'm going to say answer that one. Can we measure the backyard and driveway? Can any kind of floor plan be drafted for the backyard and driveway? All right, good questions. So exterior spaces like backyards and driveways are not, strictly speaking, things that get measured, but that doesn't necessarily mean they don't get drawn in. Okay, so I'll explain. Exterior spaces like a patio have a boundary or an outline. The drafting team will attempt to draw those in for you because they know that those look cool. They look good on a floor plan. Everybody likes it when they're drawn in. So that's another thing. But often it's a case of not knowing where that boundary actually lies. So imagine for a moment that I go out onto a deck. Straight out the back door, there's a deck. And I were to lower the camera down so that the LiDAR laser would actually hit the railing. Okay, well, if I do that, then when I look at my screen in survey, I'm going to see a clear outline of the boundary of that deck. And so for a draft person to draw that in is significantly easier than if I have no data at all. Now, if I have no data at all, they can still sometimes do it if they can identify where the deck starts and stops by seeing the boundary in the images. I'm probably making this sound very complicated. It's just a fancy way of saying, if you want them to draw something in, they not only need to be able to see it, they preferably need measurements for it. So things like patios and driveways can be pretty difficult. Like they don't usually draw in driveways just because they're outside the scope of what they could really realistically include. But there are certain things that they do try to draw in. Decks is a good example because they have railings. Some types of patios, sort of 3-season-y spaces with screened in whatever, and things that have sort of defined boundaries. Sometimes outdoor kitchens are like a big deal in California, so they'll try to draw those in. Exterior spaces are difficult though. So there is this middle zone between a floor plan and a site plan. So the iGUIDE is really a measurement system designed for interior spaces. Okay, you can take it outside, but you're really just doing images, which are super important. People love to see the outside of a property. So not saying that you shouldn't do that. You totally should. It's awesome. But the measurements and the details that are drawn outside of a property are more like a bonus than a for sure. And imagine iGUIDE is, okay, floor plan is really important, and then you get a few bonus things outside. It'll never get all the way to site plan. And that gets really awkward because there are times where you literally know the exact dimensions of the property because of some sort of thing that's there. So in California, sometimes they'll have like a wall, just literally like a wall around the property. So when you go scan it, you know exactly where the boundary is. But they won't draw that in. That's too far. But they will draw in things like decks, porches, patios, if they can, especially if they can clearly identify the boundary. So if you really want them to draw in some kind of like patio or whatever, they're not going to draw in the whole backyard, but they will draw in elements in the backyard. So if you want them to do that, you have to make sure that they get a lot of data. So shooting tip, if it's a porch or a deck or a yard with a patio, move the camera off of the patio or deck or porch or whatever and shoot around it. So, and I have no idea how familiar you guys are with shooting exterior spaces, but when you do that, it's just like shooting interior spaces. You get LiDAR data and you get images, and you align that data exactly like you would interior data. It can often be a little bit tricky, but totally worth it. And then the end result is usually like a floor plan with some extra element drawn in that it won't have like dimensions on it. They won't dimension anything. That's another point, actually. If they draw in exterior spaces for you, they won't add any dimensions. You can still like draw it yourself with the measurement tool if you want. That's totally acceptable, but they won't put it in for you. Okay, I'm gonna say that was a long answer. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say I answered it though. Done. Okay, there's no more questions. So we're gonna call it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube. Also, go to this video and hit the like button down here. I have 16 likes. Love to get that to 30 likes. I'm feeling 30. I feel like if I get 30, like that basically means I'm famous. I think that's how that works. Consider going to PMRE. It's a very cool show. I'm going to be there. And join the Facebook group if you haven't, because it's really cool. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great rest of your day.